Now, few things will attract audiences to a movie quite like a cast jam-packed with talented and beloved actors, but as these films all categorically proved, an all-timer roster clearly isn't everything. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 movies that blew incredible casts. Number 10. Movie 43. Not all movies on this list are awful, but Movie 43 certainly is, and to that end is surely the most egregious example of a ludicrously talented cast being squandered on grossly unworthy material. The primary reason that this Peter Farrelly produced film was able to secure a bevy of veritable Hollywood A-listers, well, it's because it's an anthology movie, meaning the actors involved only required a few days of participation as suited their schedules. For starters, Movie 43 counts among its massive ensemble cast 3 winners of the Best Actress Oscar: Halle Berry, Kate Winslet, and Emma Stone, not to mention Oscar nominees Terrence Howard, Hugh Jackman, Uma Thurman, and Naomi Watts. Beyond that, there are appearances from a glut of named performers: Kristen Bell, Gerard Butler, Leslie Bibb, Kate Bosworth, Anna Faris, Richard Gere, Chris Pratt, Johnny Knoxville, Sean William Scott, and Jason Sudeikis. Hilariously though, Gere and a fair few other actors reportedly attempted to get out of the project before it started shooting, while George Clooney was approached to appear and flat out just said no. Now, producer Charles B. Wessler used his industry connections to persuade many of the actors to shoot their brief scenes, and unsurprisingly, Movie 43 went on to be panned by critics, whilst also receiving numerous Razzie nominations, including the entire cast for Worst Screen Combo. Any filmmaker that convinced Hugh Jackman to stick a pair of plastic balls to his chin has to earn some sort of begrudging respect though, I guess. Number 9. Collateral Beauty. Now, Collateral Beauty basically feels like a parody of star-studded Oscar bait, so aggressively does it shove a collective of tremendously skilled actors into such a mawkish, emotionally manipulative drama. The film's ensemble counts among its numbers Will Smith, Edward Norton, Keira Knightley, Naomi Harris, Kate Winslet, and Helen Mirren, which on paper certainly suggests a movie with major awards potential. Yet despite succeeding at the box office, David Frankel's film was lambasted by critics for both its misleading marketing campaign and groan-worthy dramatic twists. The feeling among many was that Collateral Beauty was an unintentionally hilarious attempt to say something real about grief, yet it seemed inexplicable that so many outstanding performers signed up for something so blatantly treacly. The film went on to receive a single Razzie nomination for Worst Screen Combo, citing the entire cast as once respected actors. Oof. Number 8. The Monuments Men. Unlike Movie 43 and Collateral Beauty, The Monuments Men is far from awful, but it was nevertheless a colossal letdown. George Clooney's 2014 war drama seemed like an absolute slam dunk in theory. Even if it didn't turn out to be Oscar-worthy with a cast this stacked, how could it be anything less than, well, that's pretty good. The film stars Clooney, Matt Damon, Bill Murray, John Goodman, Jean Dujardin, Bob Balaban, Hugh Bonneville, and Kate Blanchett. And if you include composer Alexandre Desplat, who also plays a small role in the film, there are 5 Oscar winners amongst that ensemble cast. Yet for all of the might, both in front of and behind the camera, this potentially fascinating true story is lent a bizarrely bland, even forgettable treatment here. In the near decade since its release, The Monuments Men is remembered less for its content than for being one of the more improbably well-cast cinematic nothing burgers ever made. Number 7. Garry Marshall's holiday rom-com trilogy. The late great Garry Marshall directed 3 movies in the 2010s, which saw massive ensemble casts slumming it for easy paychecks in low-effort holiday-themed rom-coms: 2010's Valentine's Day, 2011's New Year's Eve, and 2016's Mother's Day, which were all demolished by critics. Valentine's Day counted among its cast Kathy Bates, Bradley Cooper, Patrick Dempsey, Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Garner, Topher Grace, Anne Hathaway, Queen Latifah, Shirley MacLaine, and Julia Roberts. New Year's Eve, meanwhile, roped in Halle Berry, Abigail Breslin, Robert De Niro, Zac Efron, Ashton Kutcher, Sarah Jessica Parker, Sarah Paulson, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Hilary Swank. And finally, Mother's Day scored the services of Jennifer Aniston, Kate Hudson, Julia Roberts again, Jason Sudeikis, Timothy Olyphant, Jack Whitehall, and Margot Martindale. Now, it seems pretty clear that everybody knew what they were getting into here, an unchallenging payday whilst working with one of the most beloved rom-com directors ever. As such, it's tough to imagine that many involved regretted their roles, even if it's shocking just how much acting muscle and straight-up A-lister charm was squandered across these 3 lousy and churned-out genre offerings. Number 6. Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. Sin City: A Dame to Kill For is perhaps the example of a sequel that just came too damn late. Back in 2005, everybody wanted to see a follow-up to Robert Rodriguez's hard-boiled graphic novel adaptation, but by the time the sequel finally released in 2014, well, interest had largely dried up. It didn't help, of course, that A Dame to Kill For's script fell far short of its predecessor, with Frank Miller's new stories written specifically for the movie failing to muster much interest. In addition to returning cast members Mickey Rourke, Jessica Alba, Rosario Dawson, Jamie King, Powers Booth, and Bruce Willis, the sequel also beefed up the ensemble with tons of new names: Josh Brolin, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Eva Green, Ray Liotta, Christopher Lloyd, Jamie Chung, Jeremy Piven, Christopher Maloney, Stacey Keach, Lady Gaga, Julia Garner, and Juno Temple. Yet despite game efforts from both Josh Brolin, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and especially Eva Green as the titular Dame, the sequel lacked the red-blooded intensity of its predecessor, and a decade later, the series' once impressive style seemed rather ordinary. It wasn't terrible by any means, but it was a crushing letdown after so many years of anticipation, and with such a stellar cast signed up no less. Number 5. Assassin's Creed. To look at the cast list for 2016's Assassin's Creed without context, you'd assume it was for an awards-courting drama, not an adaptation of an Ubisoft video game. As such, it was easy to be optimistic that Assassin's Creed would be the first truly great video game movie, with the cast including Michael Fassbender, Marion Cotillard, Jeremy Irons, Brendan Gleeson, Charlotte Rampling, and Michael K. Williams. And for good measure, it was also directed by the tremendously talented Justin Kurzel, so it seemed like everything was working in its favor. But alas, it all comes down to the script at the end of the day, and in that department, Assassin's Creed turned out to be a strangely listless and bland attempt to translate the game into a big-budget tentpole. Nobody among the illustrious cast was served well by the messy hodgepodge of a screenplay in what remains perhaps the most single-deflating video game movie ever made. Number 4. Cats. When it was first announced that Oscar-winning director Tom Hooper was mounting an adaptation of the musical Cats and had secured top-draw cast for the job, it seemed like it'd be a solidly populist entertainment at worst, right? This is a movie with a cast touting the likes of Judi Dench, Idris Elba, Jennifer Hudson, Ian McKellen, Ray Winstone, and talented dancer-actress Francesca Hayward. And if you can stand them, there was also James Corden, Rebel Wilson, Jason Derulo, and Taylor Swift on the docket. Simply, it wasn't a movie that was left wanting for either acting or musical talent, and yet the film's execution proved so spectacularly misguided from the ground up that the cast clearly never stood a chance. Hooper was widely criticized for using motion capture tech to create the film's anthropomorphic cat characters, ensuring that the efforts of the cast were too often suffocated under off-putting VFX work, which ensured the entire ensemble tumbled straight into the uncanny valley. Before the first trailer even dropped, Cats was on a lot of people's Oscar radars, but the moment that we caught our first horrifying glimpse of the movie in motion, it was all over. Cats went on to bomb at the box office and win 6 Razzies, including Worst Screen Combo for any 2 half-feline, half-human hairballs. Number 3. North. Casts don't get much more impressive than that of Rob Reiner's 1994 dramedy North, which stars Elijah Wood alongside John Lovitz, Jason Alexander, Alan Arkin, Dan Aykroyd, Kathy Bates, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, John Reiter, Kelly McGillis, Bruce Willis, and even a 9-year-old Scarlett Johansson. Yet despite the tremendously successful Reiner directing a script penned by both the original novel's author and Oscar-nominated producer Andrew Scheinman from A Few Good Men, North was skewered by most critics, while inexplicably netting Razzie nods for Bruce Willis, Dan Aykroyd, and Kathy Bates. However, its legacy might ultimately be the legendarily scathing review it received from the great Roger Ebert. I hated this movie. Hated this movie. Hated it. Hated every simpering, stupid, vacant, audience-insulting moment of it. Hated the sensibility that thought anyone would like it. Hated the implied insult to the audience by its belief that anyone would be entertained by it. And though he and others criticized the film for its racial stereotypes at the time, beyond that, it is simply a staggeringly unfunny film that couldn't wring even a few honest laughs out of some of the funniest and most entertaining actors on the planet. For shame. Number 2. Amsterdam. No matter his many personal controversies, David O. Russell continues to attract crackerjack casts to his movies because it's difficult to deny that he's a skilled filmmaker with a proven track record of directing actors to Oscar-winning performances. And Russell's latest, Amsterdam, touts one of the finest ensemble casts of the entire year, led by Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, and John David Washington, with supporting turns from Chris Rock, Anna Taylor-Joy, Mike Myers, Michael Shannon, Timothy Olyphant, Taylor Swift, Alessandro Nivola, Rami Malek, and Robert De Niro. And it's a shame then that the end end result is such a head-scratching mess. Bale, for his part, acts his ass off throughout, yet he's really the only member of the cast who truly gives a strong, unencumbered performance. One suspects that most of the cast signed up due to Russell's clout, but ultimately couldn't find a way through the unwieldy script, or Russell simply got complacent and figured that critics and award voters would just eat up whatever he put out. It's telling that the movie's marketing focused almost exclusively on how many actors of note were in it, rather than trying to concisely outline the film's rather nebulous narrative. And number 1, Alien Covenant. Alien Covenant is such a frustrating movie, a film with intriguing ideas and moments of gut-wrenching suspense, yet which ultimately veers away from the compelling threads offered up by predecessor Prometheus and settles for being just another Alien movie. While there's little denying that Michael Fassbender steals the show in the dual role of androids David and Walter, the rest of the cast isn't quite so lucky, which is especially frustrating given that it's easily one of the best cast Alien movies. Beyond Fassbender, it also stars Catherine Waterston, Billy Crudup, Danny McBride, Carmen Eyogo, James Franco, Guy Pearce, and Noomi Rapace. Well, sort of. Despite the staggering diversity of its terrific cast, few of these actors were actually given that much interesting to do. Waterston's Daniels is ultimately a watered-down Ripley, James Franco is killed off in record time, and most of the ensemble's remainder are saddened with thinly sketched characters who lack even basic self-preservation skills. Worst of all, though, was announcing Noomi Rapace to be reprising her Prometheus role, only to banish her part to a viral short film released before the movie, while she only appeared in the final film as a corpse. Absolutely awful. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 movies that blew incredible casts. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ, but the O is a 0, or you can swing by Instagram where it's the same handle, and I hope to see you over there. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. I hope you're treating yourself well, my friend, because even though we spoke today about movies that blew incredible casts, there is a role that I know you are perfect for, and that is the hero of this tale. So treat yourself well with love and respect, because you bloody well deserve it, alright? Go out there and smash your life goals, because I bloody believe in you, and you need to believe in yourself as well. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon.